We are single-handedly keeping the cuck chair industry alive.
Cuck chair industry, I think, is probably having a really tough... Actually, no. Actually, it's probably never been better. I feel
You
like
think there's more cucks now?
I feel like weird porn is at its all-time high.
What are we talking about?
Let me reiterate.
Cucks.
What's a cuck chair?
We're sitting in it right now.
It's the random chair in every hotel room that exists for no reason.
The aim is
Unless
directed...
your goal is to sit in that chair and watch your significant other bang someone else.
Because it's always angled at the bed.
It's always angled to the bed.
When you go in your room...
You Western people have really funny hobbies.
Yeah, look, any form of entertainment, we'll take it.
This is a cuck love seat as well. They've expanded.
I'm trying to get as far away from Chad as possible. Not because he smells or anything, just because I feel like we'll bleed into each other's mics. Which sounds like a euphemism for something cuck related, but it really isn't.
Yeah.
Talking about that, Jason, you got any cousins who are available?
Yeah, we just hit up Elo O'Toole as a prime cucking.
Because I want to get my hands on fucking one of these.
He's brought gags.
Oh, dear.
He's brought prop comedy.
Not this one. This one is fucking...
It's losing its value, isn't it?
It's...
Pretty soon you won't be able to travel to Canada or Mexico with that thing.
It's worn now.
Colombia.
No, I mean, like, it's worn out.
Greenland.
You need a new one. Like, you had it for 10 years.
It's at the end of its road.
How are we critiquing Jason's room this time? It's better than the last time.
That's good.
Yeah, because he hasn't had enough time to screw it up more.
True.
He's Three very jet-lagged people here doing this podcast.
I'll be fine. I'll be fine. It's not bad coming back from Australia to Europe.
It's 10 a.m. for you right now.
Is it?
9 a.m., 9:30?
What? No.
It's 8:30 p.m. Aren't you? You're 13 hours ahead of me when I'm in the States.
Yes.
So what is
it?
it?
He's 8 hours ahead now, or 7.
It's +7 to the current time.
Okay, yeah, pretty much when you wake up, 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, about that. That's the time I was waking up some mornings. I don't know why. It's just occasionally...
That's not morning. That's still the night.
No, that's the morning.
Mornings are from...
Here we
6. Anything before 6, you're like a guy...
In a cuck
getting cucked, trying to sell like business stock on TikTok or, well, not TikTok anymore, at least not in the US, but, you know, telling like, yeah, I wake up at 4 a.m., I get my workout in, I eat 17 eggs and some broccoli, then I go back, I do another workout, you know, then I shower.
What do you got against David Goggins and Jocko Willink?
Yeah, he's on like grind set mindset.
You got to love both of them.
It's like, there's no need to do that, man. Like, even if you look at just biology, like your internal clock is like, you know, you're sort of naturally supposed to wake up as the sun goes up. Like, you waking up at the middle of the night to start your day in the middle of the night. You're just being silly. Like,
you can't tweet about it if you don't get up before everybody else.
And you go to bed at 7 p.m. sick.
Yeah, that's the famous saying, the early bird gets all the interactions.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
On the X platform.
The best platform.
With all the cuck chairs. No, but I really regulated my travel day. I did upgrade myself to business.
Good for you.
So
nice.
I just I could have gone in economy and the plane would have been empty. I fucking knew it. But you never know until you get to the airport.
I had that. I had the empty plane today.
It's rough.
I went up to the lady and I was just like, it seems like there's not a lot of people here. Could you maybe throw me in a row where there's nobody? Give me all 4 seats. Absolutely. I took all 4 pillows from my row and 2 of the blankets, and I wrapped them up in one of the blankets and I tied it and I made one giant pillow.
That's nice.
And I passed.
Sounds like a Transformers.
Yeah, a little bit. It was like a Megazord from Power Rangers.
It is a good strategy though when you do get all that space, because for some reason flying from Australia to Europe a lot, I guess it was time of year. A lot of the time I'd get flights like that. This is back when I would do that route a lot more regularly. And then what the main key for the pillows for me was to put them over where the seatbelts protrude.
Sure.
Right? So then, you know, you can lay down across the 4 and you've got the metal seatbelt bits covered off. So you're not getting stabbed, right? Yeah. But I did the business class. I had the shower after the first leg. So Perth to Dubai. 11.
Shower on the plane or at the airport?
No.
Okay.
I don't. There probably was.
That's for first class.
And there was first class on that flight. It was one of the double decker.
Oh, A380s.
Yeah. So I was on the top floor.
Nerd.
That one has a shower in the first class.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't have that much money to spend, but
I bid for it once.
Really?
Yeah, I got business class for an Abu Dhabi flight for Blast. So I got a bid for first class. I didn't get it.
But you tried.
That was probably the only time in my life I'll ever be close to getting first class. It's too much money.
How much money did you bid? if you don't mind me asking?
An additional 1,500.
Okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's not bad. So how much do you think you would have had to have bid? $3,000?
That was what I was debating, and that's what scared me the most, is that I was thinking in increments of 1,500. You know, maybe if I was thinking in increments of like 500,
Yeah.
2,000 wouldn't have been so bad, but 3,000 felt like a bit much.
Yeah, okay. I see you. I see you. That. Nah, I don't know. What was the flight time?
13 and a half hours.
Oh, then it could have been a good time.
Yeah, it would have been the only
Would have
time.
been the best time.
Yeah,
Now you're married and you have a kid and it's all over.
And
You'll never be doing that. You'll remember that time, Jason.
I'll never have first class from Abu Dhabi ever again.
Dear.
I flew first class a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah, but it was on Swiss and Lufthansa, which are like,
I thought you were going to say Ryanair.
they're not the same as your,
Qatar's,
Emirates, or Singapore. My dream is to fly Singapore Airlines first class one time. But because I could, if you are in business, you can just use one of your vouchers to go to first class, right?
Okay.
If it's free and you can do it. And I did it one time when we were going to Shanghai. I don't know, I think we had business class already from the TO or something when I was coaching FaZe.
Must be nice.
And
Must
then
be
got
nice.
upgraded. And the best part about it in Lufthansa, for example, it's just like the stuff around the flight itself. Like the flight, the seat is a bit bigger. It's like all that stuff is a little bit nicer. Food, drinks are nicer. But as you step out of the airplane in Shanghai, there's people waiting for you there. You go straight to the counter for passport control.
Oh, that's nice.
There's no
Yeah,
lines.
that's
You
nice.
go direct to the thing. They check you. That's it. You get your bags are already there. So you just need, it's just how far away you are walking from the thing. There's no waiting around. And for an airport as big as Shanghai, where that can be, sometimes you can wait an hour for that shit and stuff like that, was really cool. And the first class lounge. But in general, like, you don't need more than business class.
The
man.
meals in
Like,
business
for
on
long
Emirates
haul.
were great. I'm having a beef tenderloin, you know. I had a tomato soup. It was
Sure.
banging. She came around and she
The cheese cart.
They have names. One of the girls, her name was Emily. She was
I
Australian.
don't think Jason meant her name was Cheese Card. Right?
No, but I was
cheese
just saying
cart
she,
lady.
and like my mother would always say she is the cat's mother when I would refer to someone whose name we should be referring to them by. I would say
Gotcha.
All right, so
Anyway.
Emily was...
she was from Sydney,
All right.
and she gave me 2 bits of garlic bread.
Fuck,
Instead of one?
Shout out to Emily.
Well, she offered me 2. I didn't know what the limit was.
She was looking at you and she's like, "This motherfucker.
He needs
wants
2
a
bits
second,
of garlic bread.
second piece of garlic
and
bread."
with the tomato soup, it went well.
Get a little
Fucking
dippy in there.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. How about the garlic bread?
Hey. Yeah,
You know,
the cock chair in business class looks a little bit different.
The tan and the lifting did its part.
Yeah, no, the sun was good. The beach was good. It was sad to leave. How do you go leaving your children? Don't you get really sad?
Yeah, it's hard, man.
Yeah.
Let's get into it, guys.
Actually.
Did you cry, Jason?
Not this time. I did before the major, because the major was like 4.5 weeks. So that was a rough
Did
one.
you well up at least?
I did well up. Yeah, she was in a cranky mood when I flew out today. I
So
didn't.
maybe you
Makes
were.
it easy.
It did make it easy. It wasn't
This
like a
little
lingering,
demon.
long hugging goodbye. It was like, "All right, sweetie, I'm leaving for like 2 weeks. I'm gonna miss you. Give me a kiss." And she goes, "No!" And I was like, "Oh, you've just killed Dad. You've actually
moment.
just wrecked me for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, but you'll be back.
It'll be fine. We rebound quick."
Well, you're at the stage where you definitely don't have that yet.
No, but this is the longest I've been in one span. Ever
At
since,
home?
Yeah, ever
Okay.
since she was born. So it was awesome. I just haven't been doing, I've just been chilling, like spending time with the fam. So it was great. And she's at the phase now where she's starting to notice things more and react to you and smile at you and all of that. So
Interact with the environment.
yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So it's definitely been the toughest leaving home ever, really. So, but it is what it is. That's the job.
You fucking pussies. You live the
Yeah.
dream job. Why do you care about your families? This is
Yeah.
Counter-Strike, all
Fuck
right?
I do care about my family, but I also, but it's also the job. It's like, I feel like I don't like when I'm here. I'm focused on this, right?
Sure, yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
I don't cut off all communication for 2 weeks, but it's like
I do.
It's
I do.
I thought he cut off communication to us today, man. The amount of messages. I was like, Jason, did you see that thing? And he's like, what? And I'm like, in the other group. And he's like, oh yeah, I haven't looked at that
There
yet.
were like 3 of those over the span of the last 2 days. We're just like, I didn't even know this group existed. Like in my head. It was formed when I was on the airplane, so like it's never been established in my head. This group is something I need to look at.
Oh dear.
But yeah, it's like if you can't be with them physically, like might as well focus as much as possible and you know get it done. That way you don't feel like it's a waste or anything like that.
Sure.
So it's cool. You're the point for me is like where I look at it, I'm 100% committed. When I'm home, I'm 100% committed. I'm here, I'm 100% committed to work. That's how I sort of rationalize it. Sorry.
He's watching a fucking podcast of us with Snappy.
No, it's...
Is that Snappy?
It is. That one is Snappy. That is the Snappy episode.
Yeah, it's back on. Nice one, Jason.
Thank you.
Why did it get removed? What are you trying to do?
It's fucking Apple device.
I just wanted to see when the last episode was.
When was it?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think it was like 11 or 12 days.
HLTV Awards. It was on the 10th.
Oh, yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
I was in my head. I was trying to think what has happened since
Blast
the last
Bounty.
episode. Blast Bounty. HLTV Awards.
Well,
we don't need to go over that. Unless you guys want to. Anything special from that? You guys have fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the award.
It feels understated, but it was a long time
I mean, the
ago
show
now.
itself,
really cool.
it was better. The stage was better. Like that part was a little bit better thought out and everything.
It wasn't as long. It was a bit more snappy.
It wasn't as long?
No, it was shorter. Definitely shorter.
Kind of felt long.
For me, it didn't feel long. It felt real quick. It felt much quicker this time around than last time.
It felt like a good amount of time for me.
Last time dragged. This time didn't.
Okay. Yeah.
I think there was like a lot of good improvements made to things.
I think it was fun, man. It was like, that was a cool event to be at because it's like, it reminded me of like the early days of like CSGO, like up to like 2018 before like teams and players really started to like sink down and treat it like a profession, which is a good thing. But like that, the events back then were so much different because it was like everyone just sort of hanging. Like,
well, they don't have to play at that event, right? Like some of them were boot camping. That's the difference, and that's probably what I think a lot of teams should think about when they're starting their year. It's a nice opportunity to be social, not only with your teammates but your peers, right? The people that you're playing against, the people within the space. I understand they're gearing back up and they want to have their time off too, but for the reason that you're talking about, it is a bit of a lost art in the way that people would hang out with one another. You always see it pops up on Reddit every now and again. It's like the picture with like you and Nico and Tarek
every 3 months.
That boy's up there.
It's way too often it pops up.
Oh, the good old days. Like that always creeps into like people, the Reddit sphere, but it's like that type of thing you don't want to lose because at the end of the day, everybody involved in this space all loves the same thing at Counter-Strike. So it would be nice if we could have a couple more, if, a few more teams come to the award show. And I think if it keeps growing in the way it is, then maybe we'll see more of it.
I think people understand, some of, especially the more experienced and the veteran players or people involved with teams, like some of these moments are fleeting, not every year is going to be a good year. So when you do have one,
you should be there.
You should celebrate it. Like you should be there because it's tough to stay on top, right? In this industry, in this environment. And I think the only reason why I was like hesitating a little bit is the bar was set so high last year.
Sure.
There wasn't much to improve on. Like everything was top notch again. Everything at the hotel was great. Like all the stuff, and even more people, felt like a little bit more people came this time around. We always have people from all different spheres.
Kassad didn't come.
Asshole.
Empty fucking seat. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And then Trace didn't sit in his seat.
No.
Trace was sitting in the wrong seat.
Yeah, because he didn't want to sit next to... never mind. That wasn't supposed to be public. Shit.
Daft Mike didn't sit in his seat.
It's just unbelievable. The disrespect to the seating arrangement.
There's a whole seating plan and people don't pay attention
Someone
to it.
put a lot of hard work into creating that seating plan. And those guys just spit on it.
I need to post a photo of you and me from the red carpet, all dressed up. I'm going to have a caption, me and a guy who should be getting paid millions of dollars for his job.
The Reddit did say that one.
Reddit did say that one.
Yeah, that's
millions,
reference game
millions chat.
I agree.
Not even 1
And I
million.
think it would happen if you moved to New Jersey.
Yeah? Probably.
Yeah. New Jersey's the one.
Shout out to my fans in New Jersey.
Shout out to all my New Jersey homeboys.
Nah, I really like New Jersey. I've never been there.
You got a lot of street cred on New Jersey.
A lot of people like New Jersey. Why wouldn't you? They got drones.
I think that HLTV Awards, there was a lot of pressure I noticed on the award presenters who seemingly the players that went up there to present the awards really struggled. They really struggled with the terminology of, let's see, our finalists. I understand.
They really struggled with the speaking part.
Yeah, the speech giving. No, I'm not setting this up to dumpster them. I would just also like to point out despite that fact, there was one person that night that had more pressure placed on their shoulders than anyone else. And that was me. And I just want to say I passed with flying fucking colors.
What the fuck did you do?
I had to sit behind Effia during that interview. In the camera
with
shot.
Donna.
In the camera shot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole time.
Yeah.
In her see-through dress that she brought up during the speech. Just... I feel like I did a great job with where I placed my eye contact.
I sat next to you. I didn't notice this.
You really incriminated yourself now.
Why are you talking about? Why are you mentioning this? No one.
I had some great.
No one knew this was a thing until you talked about this now.
I know. See, that's the thing. I wanted to make sure I got my credit.
And moments ago, I felt gross because the thing that I just uttered was my fans from New Jersey. I feel like a wanker for that ever coming out of my mouth. Apologies to everybody from New Jersey, and
especially your fans.
And then you've come in and you've dissed the players, both of you, for the way that they speak on stage, and then you're talking about Effie's see-through dress.
Especially when we open talking about cocks.
I only tore the players down so that I could big myself up.
Okay. Well,
yeah, that makes it so much better.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
And we were sitting next to each other, and then Chad was behind us, and Prof was there. I remember just turning to Prof when I was like, maybe you should have had more talent deliver awards.
No, some of them
No, I like the play. I think it's fun. I think
some of them got it. Right?
Yeah. No, I mean honestly.
Some of them did get it. Get it.
The vernacular that you're alluding to is, the finalists is what needed to be uttered before the video played.
Mate, it took Freiburg 45 minute to get out to his position after they called his name.
Yeah, what happened there?
Where was he?
Where was Freiburg? I thought we're not off to a good start.
Prof sitting behind me was just like, where is he?
Yeah.
Where did he go? Why is he not out on the stage?
No, I think I don't have a problem with people who don't have, English is not their native language and they, stumble with stuff. I have no problem with that. It's just sometimes just the delivery, maybe people try to overcomplicate it and try to make it too. It doesn't have to be this grand old thing.
Just do what Donk does.
You throw in a quick little joke, a little bit like a sentence or two, and here are your finalists, blah blah blah, and the winner is, and that's it, bro. It's not that hard.
Honestly, I'm not trying to trash him. I just found it funny, just time after time. I even felt bad for different ones. Pasha came up to me afterwards and was just like, he's like, I've been rehearsing that for 5 hours, and I just got up there and forgot all of it. He was literally just like, I had it all. I had it all.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
But Pasha is Pasha is Pasha. Whatever he does,
he wins.
Whatever the fuck he says, it's gonna be looked in a positive light because he is just fucking positive human being.
Yo, the most popular man was at the award show was fucking Min Lee.
Yeah,
it was funny as hell.
You started the standing ovation for Mr. Min Lee.
Yeah, I did.
How do you feel about that?
I feel really good, and I'm glad you brought that up because once again, it brings it back to the circle of making sure that I'm getting credit for the work that I do. That's goes
why
unnoticed.
This podcast exists.
I didn't know the $1 Million Man really needed the credit that much. I thought he got the paycheck.
First thing, man, that guy deserves a standing O. Dude, when I got it, when the award show ended,
that's what the cock chair's for.
When the show ended, I walked out, and he was up at one of the picture boards. Backdrops, and the line was like Forest, Get Right,
Zywoo
Spawn, Potty, Zywoo, Apex, and I was just like, oh, every player in the world wants to meet him right now. That's a cool feeling. It was cool to see that.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy seeing and meeting a guy that made everything possible for everyone who's now made a career and a living and an awesome life out of him fucking getting on it with couple more guys, whatever, and creating a mod to this game and sort of
had to have been a cool night for him too, because I bet he heard all those fucking.
He was very chatty.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. I had to tell him I remember this thing that I saw, I don't know where, about him delivering a lecture at some university and talking about
netcode or something, right?
Yeah, developing game and everything, and how people were complaining that their ping.
Oh yeah, that they would just artificially lower the ping.
And he would just like change the numbers without changing anything else, and then the feedback was, "Wow, it's much smoother now. Thank you for the update. It's so much better." Which I think, is a really great example of the community that
a nice little
still
placebo
exists
effect.
today.
Yeah.
Speaking of updates,
yes, sir.
there's one coming.
There's one coming.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I wonder if it'll come out. Well, Valve actually communicated something in advance for once, which they don't normally do, right? The last blog post they did was to do with Season 2 of Premiere. Is it Premiere? Whatever the fuck it's called. Season 2 of that starting. And then there's going to be the M4 price change. The A4 and the A1 are both going to be $2,900.
Yeah.
And they're going to change the price of the Famous, but they haven't said to what. And they're going to make it so it's more accurate, I guess.
Improvements to its standing and crouching accuracy.
I just hope that it bursts because I did talk to them about the obviously balancing of stuff at the major, right? The Danger Zone one kicked off. Unfortunate, that wasn't a short on our thing, and someone just clipped it and posted it, and we don't get any views. And that's why this podcast isn't sponsored, and we're never going to be sponsored, and we're always just going to be sitting in cuck chairs in hotel rooms.
And our children are going to be hungry, and Jason's going to fly economy for the rest of his life.
And I can't do that. Come on, guys, don't make me fly
He
with
wants
the
to
peasants.
go first class.
Yeah, I need to get that shower mid-flight.
Yeah.
Or just at any time really would be helpful.
But I did discuss the FAMAS with them, and I was talking to them about like obviously how punishing it is, like, or how the CT economy, especially early with the back and forth, can find itself a little bit more hamstrung. And the FAMAS was a point of contention, and I said, well, like, you've got the MP9, which, I probably could have petitioned harder to get nerfs for the MP9.
Yeah.
Like, kill reward, I think, could be okay. Bring it down to like 400 or something. I don't know. But
bring down the kill reward at this point.
But like, I was like, you got the MP9, so the CTs have that, and they can use that like close to mid range, like pretty well. But the thing on certain maps, like a Dust 2, if you had the FAMAS burst like it was in 1.6, you could take long range duels against the Glills and the AKs really quite confidently.
Do you think that would propel it to being a little bit overpowered?
No, well, it's not good at the moment. People would use people will go the MP9
they'll
over
use anything over the
yeah.
I think probably if they do it at the beginning, make it a little bit. When they do something like that, it's probably
always
a little bit OP. What I would do maybe with the FAMAS is I would make the burst stronger, really strong like then, but I would probably lower the damage of the FAMAS a little bit. So only if you, like, I guess,
dink in 2 body shots is a kill.
I guess, yeah. I was thinking about that right now. If this has to be 2 headshots. Or like probably 1, and like all 3 bullets have to.
I think you'd want to make it so it's only a kill on the first burst if it's 2 dinks. And you want to make it so if they don't get a double.
Depends also on the distance what we're talking about. Like I'm thinking, nuke yard, nuke outside, like something like that. Dust 2 from, I don't know, outside B to people coming out town, or like some of those like
mid-long,
the longer range fights that you have, not like from long on Inferno to people coming out mid. Like that's fine with just one. So I think the damage fall off would be important, but I mean, you were kind of nailing it as you were talking. It's sort of just a long range option for the CTs.
Yeah, on the force
like
buys or the low buys.
Range, obviously, there's the MP9, and then you have like the Scout, but it's not the same as a rifle. So I think it would be helpful. I still think we need to change the economy. I think.
Well, for like second, third round type situations.
Yeah, I think maybe, or just maybe in general, like get rid of the 1400
altogether.
Yeah, it just has to be 1900 because it is kind of whack. That second round, how much it stings. And sure, you can say, yeah, but just don't lose it or whatever. But sometimes it's just the nature of the round because of the economy is like. It's not an easy round for the team that won the pistol, right?
Yeah, I'd like to look at the stats.
It's not a free round for the team that won the pistol.
I feel like teams have gotten much better at dealing with those rounds than they were probably early last year.
From the perspective of the one that won the pistol or lost the pistol?
For the team that won the pistol, converting in against seconds. Obviously, if the T's don't plant, they're not forcing. It's more like... if you win the pistol on the T side and the CTs are going to force second round.
Yeah, but even like second round is the one that the one that comes up the most. But it can be even a round down the line, right? Like a reset round, where also there's like maybe once M4 saved in play, and something like that, or an op and something like that, and then you lose to that. It's not the same, and you still get fully reset, right? Like to 1400. So,
or you go two like rounds with pistol upgrades. Yeah,
I feel like with MR12, that's fine. Like, there's less rounds, and it's just so hard to recover sometimes. Like, we've done games where, you know, a team loses like 2 of those, and they haven't necessarily even misplayed the rounds. Like, the other team played well. Some guy won the clutch. Like, it wasn't like blatant, oh, they fucking played this like so bad, right? And it turns the game completely on its head, right? Because you know how it works. It's not that one round. It's like that you feel like you have to force, because if you eco, you have 3,300 right after the double eco. You can do fuck all with that. But if it was 1,924, then all of a sudden you have 4,300, so you can do something. Maybe someone saved, has a little bit extra money left over, and it's a completely different conversation. So you have to force it 1,400, which is shit. It's like,
that's why we started seeing
teams
do those
like
MP9
500 is
rounds.
a big difference between the second round and, like, you know, if you lose the second and then
Jason's
you have to play
too jet lag for this maths.
No,
I know it's alright. It's just like, my point is,
I am a little bit, yeah.
It's just that it's like you force with the 1,400, never mind, you lose it, you equal the 1,900, and then you're buying.
Still compromised first gun.
Exactly, right? Like, so that's the main issue. It's like the ripple, the butterfly effect that it sort of has, which is fine in MR15. You know,
Ashton Kutcher is one of his finest movies.
Kutcher, whatever. Yeah,
what's one
Dude,
of
Where's My Car?
What's one of his finest movies?
Dude, Where's My Car is severely underrated.
What was one of his finest movies?
Butterfly Effect.
Ah, it is a good film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of fucked up at the start.
I don't remember what happened at the start.
Maybe you shouldn't have referenced it.
What happened? Do you remember what happened?
I don't know, but isn't he friends with Diddy? Isn't he? I think he's friends with Diddy.
Like in the movie or in real life?
Have you seen this movie
in real life?
Or do you just know the plot of this movie?
It's been like 20 years, dude. I saw that with like the first girlfriend I ever had.
You saw this movie with your friend. This is getting worse. I don't think we're talking about the same movie.
Yeah.
So
we have to be. There's only one butterfly effect with Ashton Kutcher, unless you're thinking about like the porn remake.
I don't think there's any way for me like to get deeper into what I'm trying to say without like this episode getting.
Okay.
It's like one of the stuff that happens at the start is like there's some
I'll look it
there's
up.
some diddling going around.
Some diddling. Okay.
So it is a Diddy situation.
Unfortunately, it is.
Can Diddy
right?
sue us?
Like what he's trying to sort of prevent happening, right? Like what the you know,
Jason, I don't want to
the father of the friends of his when they were kids. With the camera. Come on. Did you see this movie?
It's been a long time as well.
How are you like not remembering this?
Well, he's
Oh
yeah,
now. No, he is right.
Well, I wasn't doubting him being right or
no,
wrong.
No, he is right though. I have no recollection of this opening. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's right.
Okay. Anyway, back to the economy. So how about those tariffs on Colombia? Eh?
Yeah. It's been a wild couple of days, hasn't it?
Oh dear.
Oh shit.
Oh dear.
All right. Yeah. So the M4 is going to be 2,900.
But there'll be more. Okay. Hold up. I believe there would probably be more in the update. That was just the stuff that they alluded to.
What do you think is the split of the A1 versus A4 users at the moment?
I reckon it's probably like 70-30, maybe more.
What do you think? Do you think this is going to change it significantly?
I think it should probably now go more to 50-50. I think positionally still
60-40.
60-40 A4.
No.
You still think people are going to primarily use A1?
Well, how do you think anchors are going to use the A4 for the extra bullets?
The A4 is just better, man. It's
better.
It's an aimer's gun.
But it is better, but it's
no
like
tracers though, right?
The
A1
and the no sound for the A1 is like still going to be relevant.
Yeah, but through smokes now you cause gaps. So
yeah, you kind of lose the effect of no tracers.
Like obviously the audio plays a part in getting identified a little bit later than you would be. I think it's probably going to be. You're probably right. They'll be out of habit, I imagine. But the thing, because of the price being, I don't know. I'm going to go 50-50. I'm going to go down the middle. I'm going to sell on the fence.
Why didn't they buff the incendiary yet?
That's another thing I was talking to him about. And maybe that change will happen too, because I was explaining to them, like, when we're talking about an exchange of utility, right? So
the exchange is now uneven.
Yeah, but I won't dox the devs. One of the devs that I was talking to, he was saying, I shouldn't be doing this after 24 hours of travel and not sleeping.
Just be careful, because I'm just very happy I didn't get a chance to talk to the devs this time. There's no headlines with me involved.
Yeah, but
some more credit for Jason, I guess.
The $1 Million Man.
Thank you.
Just as much as devs gets paid. So they were saying that one of the conversations that I was having around the CT utility, it was reactionary to T utility, right? So if the Ts throw out something, then the CTs will throw like one to block. And I was like, well, it's not always the case. But the reason they were saying that is like, so the T1 would land and then the CTs would come out. So the time would almost kind of equal out.
Oh, so they're saying the reaction, if they calculate it to be 1.5 seconds, is why the Molotov is maybe 1.5 seconds shorter.
So, but I explained it to them, like, it just, in certain areas of the map, like think about Anubis Middle, for example, or Banana is another one, the Ts will always win that part of the map control, because even if the CTs are responding to it like that, then you can kind of just layer it as a T. Like Banana is the best example. Yeah. So it's like you're going to throw a car molly and the CTs might throw a half wall molly, and it's like, well, I'll just throw another car molly. It's like, what are you going to do? I got 14 seconds. You guys have got fuck all. Like, So not only is it spread, right? So like think about rushing up B long on Ancient. If you the first spawn, you can tank it. You don't take any damage whatsoever. Like I know you take a little bit of damage, but it's pretty much take no damage because of the spread, and then the duration's nerfed as well. I think they should roll back one of those two. I think either go to the spread how it was like previously, so it's the same as the Molotov, the incendiary Molotov, the same spread, or give us the duration back so it's the same length of time.
Wouldn't you almost want to like, what if you like boosted the damage that the Molotov dealt while keeping it shorter? Yeah, the incendiary, sorry, while keeping it shorter, but you made it make the same amount of damage if it burned for 7 seconds as it did for 5. It just deals the damage quicker. Because then you still get you still get the trade-off effect, but you take away the incentive to be able to step in front of the Molotov and burn in the Molotov for like 2 ticks to go for a challenge.
I guess it depends on what the overall thing is that we're trying to achieve gameplay-wise, right?
Yeah,
that's why they.
What's the biggest issue with the CT incendiary? Is it the time or is it the lack of damage?
So I guess it's the thing is it stalls out play, right? So the Ts is traditionally used to like isolate angles or push players out of angles.
Yeah.
Whereas the CTs is seen as more like a blocking tool or a reactionary thing, which isn't always true. Like I think that the CTs obviously taking map control is saying that they use it in a similar way for a T fashion if you're fighting for space, right? You're like, I'm going to completely remove this position. It's not reactionary. It's more premeditated. So look, that's the thing.
It'd be a fun question to pose to the players at this event. It's like, what do you think is like
You think they think about this shit?
Yeah.
Not many of them think about this shit.
I think some of them do.
They just play the game, bro. They play with what's in front of them. Not many of them think about this
stuff.
But
this is a relatively recent development in the meta.
Yeah, but they'll just say, it sucks because now that I'm the B long player on Ancient, I can't just block it with an incendiary. That's what they'll say. They won't think about it like from a nuanced perspective.
Okay.
Like they just
a couple of them will. Rops would.
Yeah, but
would.
It's the rarity.
I got two.
It's the same as remember when we used to talk to players about formats. Now I don't even know what the format is. I know I just have to win. It's like sick, bro.
Someone tells me my game's at noon.
Yeah, and I rock up. It's like okay,
after Starbucks.
Yeah, no, like I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit critical there, but I think you're right. People like Elysian, Rops, and stuff would definitely think about those
certain ones
things.
that would have that detail.
And like in-game leaders probably as well because they're thinking about the functionality of the utility on a deeper scale. So. Yeah, but I'm curious to see. I was hoping that the update drops tonight, right? Like morning time for Europe. It'll be normally about like midnight or 1 a.m. so that Slavinsky can get on it tomorrow. And if the changes aren't drastic enough, see if tomorrow with the Tuesday, the build of the update is stable and that the things aren't too drastic of a change, that we can run that patch for this event. Otherwise, if they drop it tomorrow, we're not going to use it. We're just going to play on the old patch, which sucks. Like, because we're just going to keep kicking the can down the road. Because where are the teams who make it to the playoffs here going to get a chance to play in, like, if they're going to Cluj? We don't know who's in Cluj yet, but
that's where you'd hope if you were the players of this event, you'd just go to ESL and say, we all vote to just use the patch.
Yeah. But I don't know. Then there's the trade-off, right? It's the thing they've been practicing up to this point, and it's the marquee event up until the major, essentially. Like this is the big one up until the major.
I can't believe again we have this thing. I thought we were past it when we talked about last time, but I'm referring to the cutoff point for the invites being
April 7th.
April 7th.
Yeah.
And the tournament is on June the 3rd.
Yeah.
It's like any event after that. I'm not saying it's not going to matter. And I'm not even saying
it matters for the next season.
It matters
you
significantly less in the moment than you wanted to.
Yeah, especially the ones that are nearer to the actual major. And I think that's where we're going to see some teams, skip. So they're focused on just preparing and putting a boot camp in before the actual major. And then that comes into play with, which tournaments have more, that's going to be actually an interesting dynamic. So some of the top teams will skip, let's say PGL Astana and IEM Dallas, right? So they could just boot camp and then go to the major in Austin, right? PGL has 1.25 mil like in prize pool.
So that trickles down.
Yeah, so some team, maybe the team who's 7th seeded will win the tournament, 7 in the rankings could win the tournament, and a team that's 30th
could get a lot of,
or 24th can, if they get into the playoffs somehow, could get into the top 12 or
for the next
top
season.
10. So I think
it's kind of a cool dynamic, though. I mean, I'm with you. I don't like
it. It is, but that's what
it's kind of a cool dynamic to be like, hey, there's this
it's good
1
for
month
us
gap where it's a good for story building. Where this team who's ranked 50th can make some gains where everyone else is occupied.
I think we'll also see how it actually pans out in practice, right? Do these teams lose out a lot that they don't attend, and do these teams gain a lot if they have a decent run? Because sure, you can do the calculations, but obviously you don't know what will actually happen at the tournament, who's going to beat who, so you can't really map it all out beforehand. So you are definitely taking a risk with deciding to sit it out. You're also kind of taking a risk with deciding to play it, not only because, let's say, you might have less time to prepare for the major, but also that event can go sideways for you regardless
and have a negative impact anyway
while you're there. And then you take also into account the fact that Melbourne is after it. How many teams from Europe will be willing to go?
Why would you if you're already locked in for the major?
Well, we already saw that play out with Buenos Aires.
No, that had nothing to do with.
I mean, the PGL event,
the location did.
No one wanted to travel to it. Same concept
because it was Katowice, so they weren't going to go all the way to South America, and then they weren't going to come all the way back to then do Pro League in Europe.
Yeah, I get it.
But with Janko's example, it's like this case, so the cutoff will be as the group stages of PGL Bucharest are getting underway, right? The last full event will have it'll be Blast Open Lisbon. That'll be the last full event that has any huge significance on the ranking.
Why?
And also here's the thing as well. It's like, I get it. I think this was when it was announced, it was also a little bit of a discussion about it. And at the end of the day, it's because of visas. It's so that teams have enough
for the
time
US,
to get the visas, wherever. I mean, different teams will have problems for different, there's teams who
I'm
have
sure the
trouble
Russians are going to have a hard time with 2 months lead time.
Yeah.
Right?
But then the question is, I don't want to get into this discussion really, but it's like, should teams already have the visas? But I guess for some countries it's difficult because you actually have to have a
single entry or purpose.
For a purpose why you're going. So I guess that's out of the question. I think it's just the reality of our space at the moment, right?
It's a reality.
It's like you have to pick your poison, and I guess this is the least poisonous pill.
Which just means you die slower.
This is Jason's favorite, poison ivy.
This is like Jason having to drink a beer,
And I'm talking about from the Batman movie. See?
Is that Nicole Kidman?
That was a core memory. That was Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman.
Okay.
Poison ivy.
Before Kill Bill.
Who? I remember these things.
Uma
Thurman.
But so the thing with this season, because we've only just started this, is how quick it feels like we've gone from 0 to 100. We're going to have had a Blast Bounty, which 50% of it was online, which counts for almost nothing. Then we're going to have Katowice. Then we're going to have Cluj-Napoca. Then we're going to have ESL Pro League, studio event, no crowd. Then we're going to have Blast Lisbon, which half of it's a studio event, half of it's crowd event. And then that's the cutoff. But other than the first few days of group stages...
So Bucharest isn't it?
PGL Bucharest, just the first few days of the group, which will only affect head-to-head. It won't affect prize money because the event won't be concluded. So you only affect the head-to-head matrix part.
Well, they should just take that whole event out of the thing then.
But it says the 7th. That's what Blaster said. So as of
I
the
know.
7th,
I'm just saying it's weird to count 2 days of an event.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like you can't be.
I guess you can't choose that level of detail.
So you from that point, right? From that point right there. So here's what I will say: any team who's a cusp team, right? Let's just say, I don't know, maybe Liquid aren't attending Cluj. I don't know. Maybe they're not going to Cluj, everybody. For a team like Liquid, who could maintain the #1 North American slot, right, by not going to Cluj, let's say Furia go and have a good tournament. Let's say Pain go. Let's say MIBR go and have a good tournament. They can take the #1 America's slot. And by doing that, that puts them in stage 3 of the major, which is the last Swiss stage before the playoffs, which would mean for Liquid, they would then, it depends on the Mongol situation, but they would then most likely drop down to stage 2, which means they have to play 2 whole Swiss stages, which can be very detrimental because it means you have to play a whole extra week of Counter-Strike, whereas otherwise you could boot camp.
Or 2 days if you're Vitality.
Yeah, that's true too.
They had the most egregious playoff
that's
run.
a good point too. So I think it's risky. Imagine if a team like Liquid skipped Cluj. I think it's risky for them to do that, especially with this short time frame that we have, right? Like with the conversation we started to have after April 7 and then what all those other tournaments will mean and who's going to skip what, that's what's going to happen all the time. But it's just because this is the first time we have this. This is just a short runway. I feel like you should have gone to all the events in this short runway, and then after that, you get to pick and choose.
That's what I was going to say. Like it almost feels like with the way it is, you don't skip any events before the cutoff date.
Yes.
You only do
after the cutoff.
After the cutoff, it's like when you take it, like
unless your Mongols and Senzu has
I almost
broken
feel
arm.
like I think because bounty is half of it's online. Like that's where you start your boot camp.
It's very low impact,
and you use it a little bit to get into the groove. You want to get to the playoffs, obviously, so you get to play some LAN games, right? And then Kato is a big one, but even after that, like events like Cluj, and you just have to sort of power through it. I feel like I don't know, but it's tricky because I say this, but then I'm like, okay, you play Cluj, and then you get to Pro League, so you've been to potentially Copenhagen, then straight to Kato, then straight to Romania, right? And now you're gonna play one more tournament. Like, how burnt out are you, and what is going to be your level of play at the moment? And are you actually going to be doing more harm than good for yourself if you go to Pro League and you don't make the playoffs and you lose to Mind Freak or whoever the fuck's gonna come from Australia, right, to play, and something like that happens? Like you are likely to be. I loved it. This is one of my favorite things about the podcast in the last couple of months. Is whenever we get to talk about this VRS shit, it's like we actually don't know. We do.
I'm trying to learn. Like, I'm actively trying to learn.
Like I'm just like sort of, it might be this, but maybe I'm wrong, but maybe not, because there's so much that goes into it.
All right, let me give you a couple of little tidbits. So the VRS is more like a power ranking, right? Whereas like if you look at HLTV's ranking, theirs is over more of a span of 12 months. The VRS is only over a span of 6 months.
Sure.
And the most important factors in the VRS is prize money, LAN games, and then your opponent network. So that's the other teams that you're playing against to contribute, right? The LAN games are very important, matches that you're winning on LAN. And then for the top 5, they're the teams who set the threshold of prize money, right? So the 5 teams who have the most prize money kind of set this barrier for everybody else. So if you look at Vitality, they dropped out of the top 5, and prize money is a big contributing factor of that. And that's why they lost so many points compared to other teams, or it's one of the factors as to why they lost so many points compared to the other teams when you're looking at how Blast Bounty unfolded for them. Because you went, oh, well, they made it all the way to the playoffs, but they lost more points than some teams that didn't even make it to the playoffs, like FaZe. So there's quite a few factors that play into that, but there's literally an equation that's used to determine these things. And the equation, I was landing from Dubai into Warsaw, and my internet went out, and I didn't get to keep asking Striker any more questions. So I didn't get to finish the follow up there. But the thing is, I hope Striker does this again after this event concludes, because Katowice will have a lot more impact on the movement of the points than what you'll have seen for this, because 50% of this event was online.
Yeah.
So the Blast Bounty, in terms of the impact and the way that the prize money is distributed, it has lesser of an impact.
I'm assuming with the way Blast Bounty works, if you're a team and you risk that money, and you win it, and you win your opponent's 50K or whatever, that is going to contribute to your VRS. Although obviously it's not a huge impact.
EF, they went up a lot, right? They're one of the only real significant winners from the points.
They're the only significant winner from the points.
Yeah, like BetBoom got a little bit as well.
BetBoom did move up,
but not as much as somebody like Eternal Fire. And
they gained 221 VRS points and gained 6 positions.
Yeah, but like again, I think you'll see a more drastic difference with an event like Katowice, and then the same with Cluj, right? Cluj doesn't have an arena. Cluj does have an arena. It's PGO, but I fucking did this with Astana as well. Cluj definitely has an arena, everybody. There is an arena with fans and crowd for Cluj.
Food and drinks.
There's all that good stuff. Go to Cluj if you're Romanian. And if you're not Romanian, go as well. Everybody just go.
Cluj was nice.
Everybody, I'd never been to Cluj, but everybody go to Cluj. It's the Bucharest event that doesn't have the crowd. But I don't think that doesn't factor in.
No,
it's still just land.
Crowd's
not an element.
There's no.
It's land, money, and opponent, right? Are the 3 deciding factors? Land, prize money.
3 biggest deciding factors. Yeah. There's always a caveat with this bullshit.
Yeah.
Which goes back to what Yanko was saying. We never quite know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, which is frustrating. But it would be cool.
We need a bigger sample size.
Yeah.
Is basically what we're saying.
As you said, if Striker keeps doing this, but it'd be cool if there's some like fucking super nerd out there who just like does the math and is kind of like, this is where, this is the average.
Some guy who won like first place in a math competition in China.
Yeah, didn't have to go all the way to that detail.
He could be your quant.
Yeah.
What do you want to see exactly?
I would love to see like, and I don't know how you would do this or categorize
it. Are you
going
to say match to match?
No, I was going to say event to event, like what the average point change.
Oh, the average point change.
Yeah, like
it'll be different every time.
Or like how much is the average point gain if you beat a top 5 opponent?
Well, okay, there's so many factors here.
I know, but like it'd just be.
That's
I'm just
why
interested.
we need.
But like the only way you're going to know if they're fun stats or numbers to use is if you actually see what they are, right? Like, someone's going to do it.
The biggest thing that matters is the impact on the ranking.
Yeah, but it'd be cool to be able to go into a match and. Well, I don't know if it'd be cool.
But you need the tournament to come to the conclusion, so we know what the prize money distribution is for everybody.
Yeah.
Like from match to
match. That's why you'd have to do it as an average, and I guess it makes it less sexy that way. But it would be cool if you went into a match and I'm like, okay, this team is ranked, for example, 15th, and they need to get to 14th. And this match can get them the exact points or 5 points more than they need. It'd be cool to be able to have that element to a game. But I don't think we ever will because this is that complicated.
You could, but then that could...
But it's always ballpark. It might not be true.
No, it could be true for that match, but then the match that happens after could have an impact on the overall, which then just like...
Just shits it. Yeah.
But like within the context of that game that you're talking about, it could be possible.
Could be cool.
Like the something I spoke about with Striker, for them having it so like on the match page for each game, they could use the fucking word, the maths equation. Equation is the word I was looking for, to show everybody like exactly what you're saying, what the jump or the other would be. But
talking about the HLTV, why did they do a puff piece on Blast?
I don't know. I don't write the articles, mate.
That
thing was
I did not.
fucking.
Did you read the interview?
That was TLDR.
Was it good?
No, because it's one of these that, and I think from time to time they do it.
Look how long this shit is, bro. I never wrote an essay this long.
They do it with every TO once they get a major or something, right? Like, and then go up. Wait, a little bit down. The long question. The question is really long and the answer is short. Okay, so that one.
God.
Yeah, that one. So once I got to that question,
careful,
and
Jason.
it's like, the thing is, it's like the guy's asking a legit question about it. I think it was like about the fall finals last year, and it went from Royal Arena to a smaller arena, and it wasn't full, and there was less like 10 people were unhappy with, let's say, the food and drinks, and it was a question about along those lines. It's like, what was it? What happened? Are you what was the reason for this? Do you think maybe a lot of other events happening in Copenhagen, whatever? And then the answer is He's like, well, it was
had our highest Blast Premier viewership figures ever. So from that regard, it was our most successful event.
Like, bro, that wasn't. It's like, why are we? I was just thinking, like, why is HLTV doing this? Like, what's the point of this for HLTV? Why are they like just like a promo article?
Well, they're like just featuring the answers that he got, right? But there is a follow up. But that always depends on the teams that make it through. Yeah,
that's not the fault. Like,
it's not. He could have hit harder again on. I understand what you're saying. The initial question, but okay, let's give everybody a Blast story, Jason. Do you want to give everyone a Blast story? Do you remember that guy? I forget the guy's name, but he used to work for Blast. I don't think he's been there for years.
Okay.
Remember when they had that shit format?
Yes, remember? I do remember that. Yeah.
And I think it could have been in a Portugal or a Spain.
It wasn't Lisbon. They had one in 2018.
Talking about Malmo?
No, Jason.
There was a Lisbon in 2018.
What Blast story are you talking about?
We were doing a Blast, and I think it was Lisbon.
Okay.
Would have been 2019. 18. Nifty was there.
Nifty was there.
And we were having like a meeting. We were talking about their format.
Yeah.
And like we were discussing the format. And they were arguing with us. I forget the guy's name. He's not there anymore. He hasn't been a Blast for a long time.
I know who you mean. Older guy.
The older guy. He was arguing
Jordy.
He was arguing that their format was the most competitive. And we said, well, no, it's not. It's like we had two complete definitions of what competitive was. Do you remember this?
He probably meant cutthroat, I think. Was the yeah.
But even then it wasn't. Even then, like what? How was it cutthroat?
I don't know. I'm playing.
I don't think it was either.
Memory.
Yeah, Jason, it's all right. You and I both travel all day. Anything that we say right now cannot be used against us in the court of law.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it was not a very competitive format.
I think just for me, it's like they touch on that. I actually read the whole interview.
Why do you hate yourself?
I read because I wanted to see if there's going to be any substance there, anything that's not like promo corpo stuff.
There's got to be something.
Now listen, this is not even. If you got someone from ESL to do this, it would be the same. If someone from PGL did it, it would be the same. This is not like specific to Blast. It's just like I was just like, what is the point of this being on it? Why did HLTV do this? To get like what there was something about it was nothing. It's just like a promo. I'm like, unless Blast paid for it, which I guess
I'd rather them do it than not do it.
I don't know. And this is the thing, as I'm reading, I'm like, I hate that I sort of get it that this is how it has to be. This is just how it is.
Yeah, but it's the same when we talk to the people who we think we're meant to talk to, and then we realize they're not the people we're meant to talk to. And I'm talking about people at ESL, not people at Blast. This is the same as this shit right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we finish the conversation and we go, what was the point of that?
Just one straight answer in the interview.
When was the last time we got a straight answer?
There was also another thing that pissed me off. There's like the stuff about bro in there. And it's like, well, we actually...
COVID-19.
Yeah, it was like, well, we had no reason to not take like team statements at face value. Like you cannot say that with a straight face when the guy's agent came out and said... he's perfectly fit to play. Like, you cannot use that. Like, it's one thing if it's, like, some team from, like, Brazil and they're flying over and they're like, hey, this guy got sick, we need a sub. You know, and no one says anything. Well, then you're like, well, I guess, like, this guy has fucking tonsillitis and he can't play, so give them a sub. Like, this is not that situation. And you can't... How can you not... Like, that's what fucking bothers me. But that's also because I'm a little bit backwards, you know?
Yeah.
Where I'm like expecting like
B for balloon.
I'm expecting like, you know, things to not be like this, for people to be more honest and more straightforward. But unfortunately, that's not how the world works. But maybe one day, maybe when Musk buys TikTok, maybe we get there.
His job is to like go out there and smooth the PR.
He's not a fucking politician.
That's his job.
The point. He's not a politician. Like.
But I mean, like, I understand. I know what you mean, and it frustrates me too.
I hate it because now it sounds like I'm taking shots at the guy. It's like not even. It's not a personal thing, and it's not anything. It's like, as I said, any other person in that position from another company would give you the same type of answers.
Anyone in that executive corporate position.
And it's like, and I think, why are you not more mad about this, Chad? It's like,
about what?
This should be pissing you off.
I didn't read
why are we are not like fucking, no, but this whole general sentiment.
But I didn't waste my time.
Because we're not some corporation. Like, yes, there's money coming in. We have big events.
Blast is.
We should be more. Are they really?
Look,
but we should be more like fucking down to earth, more grounded, more chill.
Yanko,
you're not the fucking CEO of JP Morgan Chase.
Look at this guy today that got exposed with the Into the Breach stuff, right? That he's been laundering money.
We need more guys.
No. My point is, there's
72-hour benders.
There's too many fucking like people who come into the space who aren't meant to be in the space. And if we cared about all those people, I know like we can't be the police to get him out of here. They'll get himself out of here. They'll all do the wrong thing eventually, and it'll be fine. It'll work itself out. Like, you got me thinking about something, though. Brovid-19, the reason that was a problem is because of roster locks, which shouldn't even exist anyway. And then ESL have roster locks, so now Spinks can't play for Mouse. They got to use Zelex from the Academy roster. Why we got roster locks? I'm going to get Slavinsky, not on the phone, but IRL. And I
get
say,
here in front of the fucking camera.
You know, it's
me and Jason are going to put bright lights straight into his face. Maybe have a bucket of water nearby for Jason's
no
pet
waterboarding.
I had the same fucking vibe. Someone in our Discord asked that question about like why are interviews in Counter-Strike so bad, and we covered that on a previous episode. But like,
what the fuck?
It was like one of those things where I was like, there are certain elements of it where it's just like remnant from
the old days,
from like the old school 2015 to 2017, 18 broadcasts that are just like, here's the cookie cutter broadcast outline that we all downloaded from the same website for $3.99. And it is just, we put interviews here. We do a pregame interview. We do a postgame interview. They're always here. And it's the same for this kind of a thing with the roster lock where it's like, they made sense once upon a time when there were like 8 events across a year.
Yeah, well,
there was probably some logic to them, but they still just exist because we've always had them.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm sure there is a good reason, but I don't know. I don't want to know the reason. I just want Spinks to play for Mouse, but he's not gonna, so it's not gonna matter until the next event. Another thing, just quickly, because I've been reminded of all these things.
Yeah.
Remember how a while ago on the show I was like, oh, like CCT, they're blocking certain players and stuff, and I'm gonna be interested to see how that works out because Valve said if you do that, you have to publicize. And then they didn't publicize. And then their event became unranked because they were banning people.
Shadow banning.
Yeah.
Just the best.
And then Jason said, it's okay if everybody throws games as long as nobody who isn't throwing a game gets banned.
Seriously, that was an insane comment from Maui, right? I can't be the only one who saw that and was just like, what the fuck?
I just know your tweet. I don't know what Maui's sentiment was. Can you please? I just read your thing and I took it out of context.
It was something along the lines of like, there's so much of this. I don't want to misquote him, so you look it up, but it was like, there's so much of this going on.
That's
that
what we do around here is misquote shit.
Proceeds to
as I proceed. I just want everyone to know this is not a word for word. It was something like, this shit is going on so much and we need to have protections for it and TO should have protections for it. And if there's a couple false positives that pop up along the way, like
that's not okay.
It happens. And I was sat there and I was like, that's crazy, right? Like,
yeah, that's not okay.
That can't be a thing.
It's crazy.
Like we can't just be banning people for no reason.
That's like saying it's fine if you get a false positive for an AIDS test. It's like, that is kind
Shout
of
like... Shout out to Sadicus one time.
That is kind of life. You can't like be like, oh, I'm gonna get tested for this like horrible illness and like, oh shit, I'm positive. Oh no, my life is over. Wait, actually, it might just be a
I
false
think we can
positive.
survive AIDS now, though, can't we?
We can. It's getting there.
Yeah, it's just like, it sounds scary, doesn't it? What do you want, Chad? Does cancer do the trick for you? Leukemia?
Yeah, we did go more grim, of course. We did. We could have gone back to hemorrhoids and anal fissures, but we stayed away from that.
People really enjoyed that. They liked the update of your...
Yeah, my rectum.
I think way more guys have problems with that than I imagined, so they just sort of resonated with Chad's...
We did molding with molding. As soon as we find out what rhymes with hemorrhoids, we could do another episode.
Yeah.
Droids.
This is a Star Wars episode. Something about R2-D2 and C-3PO. Were they really a gay couple? Let's find out.
Slapping gloves on their hand.
Who knows?
But I hate it. Bro, another thing from the interview was like his
Wait, what? He's going back to the interview.
Because you said the CCT thing,
right?
Yeah. So the conclusion was like, oh yeah, we realized we should have gotten ESIC involved at an earlier stage because there needs to be a third party like to objectively decide.
We do love
and
ESIC.
like make a ruling. I'm like, no, if the last thing we need is more of ESIC anything, it needs to shut down or just solely, like you pointed out, Chad, focus on the match fixing and investigate that and nothing else.
That's what Ian Smith knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I hope Ian still do it. Like Ian would, yeah. Ian's a good guy. I just think there's too much stuff for them to try and cover over there.
Well, and they're probably one thing that we probably don't shine enough light. Oh, I mean, that's not really our job. But one thing that I think probably exists as a problem for ESIC that doesn't get talked about a lot is they probably exist at such a weird intersection of like industry politics in terms of the business side of having to work with TOs, work with teams, work with players, and get funding from all of them.
I think this is probably for an episode from home, but we talked about this like a couple of months earlier, where I made the point of we're still like at the infant stage of our ecosystem, right? Like we're missing so many things: a players' association, an actual sort of, FIFA, which is not a good example because it's corrupt as fuck, but a body that would look over the competitive aspect and all of this stuff,
and the circuit, from the people who hire
and again the problem with that is it's not a game that no one owns. It's a game that's ownership of Valve, and probably the answer to it long term would be actually, and Valve would have to be more and more involved into doing it, which they probably have zero incentive to do. So then it's like, who knows what will happen 5-10 years from now, right? Like if things keep growing and keep getting bigger and all of that, which, as I said, probably best conversation for an online episode and not get into that. But that's why we have all these little issues. That's why you have, all of a sudden ESL is putting in club prize money, right? Like club money into it, which goes to the orgs, but it's like, it's counted in the VRS, like it's counted as prize money. So the orgs are telling the players, well, this is just for us, but the players should be going to them. No CSPPA, of course. So now they're probably getting reamed out all over the place. They should be just getting, listen, if this is counted into the fucking VRS, then it's prize money. Like, it would be ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that they get 0% of it. Sure, maybe you can make an argument if you're the org, like you don't get 85-90% like you do from the prize money. You get a little bit less. Yeah. But they should still get a good chunk of it. I mean,
but I think Jason brought this up when we were having dinner before, and we did talk about this on an episode recently. But I think the thing is, it's to just do with the viewpoint of the TO/orgs and views on business models, right? Like that's kind of the angle, because if all of it becomes just considered prize money, right? And then by the stipulations in these players' contracts, prize money, almost 100% of it goes to them, regardless of the semantics of the name, because we all agree it's just the same thing. It's literally just a naming difference. So let's say it all just ends up going to them, or most of it ends up going to them. Then there will be a course correction in how much they get paid, because something that happened over the pandemic period and when these partner leagues were established is there was money going directly to the partner organizations, and that's probably one of the factors which allowed them to pay these players the salaries that they were getting. So the trade-off has to be one or two things. We're happy to give you all the prize money available, and then it's all going to be merit-based, but your salaries might take a cut of, 25%, 50%, whatever the number might be. Whatever it is. And it probably is due some form of a course correction in that regard anyway, like I'm saying. But I think it would be better if, you had a good base salary that was a very livable salary as a player, right? I don't think they should be gouged at all. I think that they put in a lot of work, and the game is hard. It's very intense.
And they are the most important factor of...
100%. Yeah. I think they should be paid well. But I think if we're going to get to the point where they're going to, be... Because right now, this first year and the second year and probably even the third year of this VRS thing is going to be a lot of feeling out. And we discussed the strategy of these different TOs and what they're trying, right? Blast are trying their strategy of more unique tournaments. They also have the frequent flyer program. ESL are trying the club money and the regular tournament. Like Katowice and Cologne have big prize money as prize money. And then the other tournaments for ESL to incentivize teams to go is club money. And that club money will mainly go to the orgs to help pay for the players.
And it's more for the smaller events. The percentage is more for the smaller
So it's just different strategies at the moment. And we're going to have to see what sticks, what lands, what's sustainable. And that for me is the most interesting thing, because I was thinking about this a lot while flying. My favorite stuff about Counter-Strike is like the actual game, right? Like it being played with the top players and getting to cast that. And then the big picture of the ecosystem. The thing that I've realized I don't give a fuck about is like any of these conversations that we get into about like legacy players and comparing them to like other sports and what does this mean, all that. I don't give a fuck about that. Like I care about the overall ecosystem and how it's changing and the developments there, and then what that's going to affect of current players and future players. And I care about the game while I'm watching it and as it's happening. Like I
care about the overarching storylines.
I'm sure the overarching storylines is part of like the job of what we do, right? But I'm not big into that. I'm not going to be a narrative pusher of that. Like I'm not going to be creating my own fucking like rankings or doing those type of things. Like that stuff for me, like I'm not getting into that stuff. Like that doesn't interest me.
All right, yeah, that's all right. I mean, when you said like comparing to like players, I think you know, we have so much history in the game and so many players, you know, because I think at the end of the day, people root for people, you know.
Sure.
Like, sure, you're rooting for a guy who's a master of the game and you admire him for his skill, but you will get more invested if you emotionally feel some sort of a connection and you're like cheering for the guy.
People always going for underdogs.
Maybe you're cheering for a guy who's like skilled but never really got it, like Matthew Stafford with the Lions, going to the Rams and winning a Super Bowl, right? Like you really had, it's a guy he got his break. Like he was down in the dumps, like grinding it out, got his opportunity, got it done, right? Like there's a lot of different storylines. That's where you really get, like, that's where you start rooting for someone and following them, and then you get like a viewer who's really immersed, and that's what our job is, to sort of deliver those stories and present these players in a, you know, good light. I don't mean that to embellish, but to sort of just give them the
uniqueness about their journey and what can be relatable to that.
Yeah, because we do have, there's no need to embellish anything. The stories are there, the journeys are there, right? The players, the names, everything is there, right? It's just to sort of do it. And what does make it a little bit more difficult now is like just, and it was even before this year, it's like a little bit of the saturation and like, how does this event differ from the previous one?
It's going to be coming right back, baby.
Yeah, but that's
in
fun.
An even bigger way.
I think the thing is, it's going to be so fluid from event to event to event that we're going to get to see all these things develop like very quickly, which is a good and a bad thing. But we're going to learn a lot in a short period of time this year, right? Just because of the nature of the way things are. We
already have. I mean, learned a ton with, like, you know, tournaments being canceled already, tournaments being changed from VRS to non-VRS mid-event when teams are already there competing. Like, there's already been some pretty fucking hardcore lessons. Like, I knew this was going to be a transitional year, but I have to say, like, 2025, this first month has been way rockier than I expected.
Yeah, but the thing is, with the tier 2 events, you knew they were going to try and get away with some bullshit. And then, like, you look
I figure all the TOs are trying to get away with bullshit. I figure everyone in this industry is trying to get away with some bullshit.
Come on, Jason.
Not us.
Well, that's bullshit. It's you trying to get away with bullshit right there.
What are you talking about, Jason?
Just saying. I think there's like, it's just, I don't know. It's a strange year, and it scares me particularly. I would rather the issues be in the tier 1 scene than the tier 2 scene.
But
because the tier 1 scene can at least bring way more eyeballs to and way more attention to it. The tier 2 team scares me because no one talks about this in esports.
There's fucking,
but the only way to have an
esport, there. Just follow the fucking rules.
Yeah, but chat. Okay, it's not that easy.
Okay, so
you know, it's not that easy.
Players that you ban for match fixing, but don't tell people publicly that you ban them for match fixing. That's all you have to do is say that we ban them for match fixing, or don't ban them.
But that's not all of it. Like, for instance, I have some relative sympathy. You'll love this for the Sky Sports guys.
The Sky Esports.
Yeah, Sky Sports.
I think it is Sky Sports, but I don't know. I think maybe Sky Esports. I don't know.
Is it because of your heritage?
Yeah, naturally. As
has Irish as he is.
Yeah.
O'Toole.
Arab Irish.
Doyle rules.
Doyle fucking rules. No, but like, I think adhering to the rules moving forward shouldn't be anything that anyone has a problem doing.
Well, apparently they did.
But I think in a year like this, when we see how much it's been weird and how we know how like Blast, ESL, PGL have struggled or had obstacles to adapting their events to follow this new rule set, a company like Sky Sports that just came in the past 2 years that isn't set is like, that's not just like changing, you know, the event. That's changing your business model now.
They barely had a business model. They had last year where they canceled the same event like 3 times.
I don't think it's necessarily a good one, but I do understand, like, when you're a tier 2 tournament organizer, you cannot just change on a dime the way an ESL can, who's been operating in the space for 10 years.
But then
there was lead up as well.
And tier 2 events have more flexibility than tier 1 events.
Okay, let me go back a second and just confirm something really quick. This event was like announced last year, right?
Well, yeah, but it was a tier 2 event.
It was announced already after the VRS stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well then, yeah, fuck them. I'll take it all back.
But
you know what I mean? Like, if you're a tier 2 organization,
and you were planning for something, and now it's something else, and maybe your math doesn't work out the same way because you can't get any of the tier 1 teams. That
so maybe not don't use Sky Sports
incentivize or anything, but
another one is the Starladder event that was meant to happen before the break.
We have to make sure the tier 2 events are still healthy and still fucking kicking.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Yeah. I want more than anything for there to be the ability to move up and down, because the way it looks at the moment is it's just going to be a golden circle for the top teams, right? Yeah. Like right now, this start of the year, the honest truth that people need to accept is there's going to be very little movement from how you see the rankings currently. Unless any teams have massive blunders or massive upset losses, the teams that you're looking at right now are going to probably be the teams who get through to the major or have to play in the major regional qualifiers, right? Yeah. And there's not a lot of room for movement at the moment because of different factors like CCT or Sky Sports or Yala not applying the rules the way that they're meant to, so there's less opportunity for the tier 2 teams to even try and accumulate points to try and move up and down. It's also too short of a time frame for them to really make a lot of a dent. There's a lot of factors that go into this. I want it to be healthy because that's where our next generation of Counter-Strike players is going to come from, and that's where the Cinderella stories or the crazy runs from underdog teams that you don't expect is going to come from, because you don't have the same way to move in like we did before of going to RMR, upsetting some teams and it being like, holy shit, where the fuck did these guys come from? We don't have that anymore, so there has to be a healthy scene. But when I think that there's rules are put in place, and the thing is, maybe you can't get the direct line with Valve like a PGL, or ESL, or a Blast can as continuously. PGL, ESL, and Blast invest the most money into the scene, right? But message Striker, message someone who's very well entrenched in the know or who can get you the line, right? If you're willing to invest a lot of money in putting on a tournament,
it's worth that due diligence.
That's also the thing where I was just thinking while you were talking, is like, who are we most similar about? I know you were referencing this plenty of times. It's like we're probably pretty similar to tennis, right? In terms of how our circuit looks like. You have the Grand Slams, you have the 1000 tournaments and all this other stuff. And you don't see all the players at all the tournaments. The best players skip some of them, right? Everyone wants to play the Grand Slams, really, which in our circuit would be the majors, and probably Kato and Cologne still stand out a little bit. I think for Blast now, the Opens have an opportunity to match that, but you can't make prestige, right? Like that takes time, right? That's what it
goes to the question you pointed out in that interview, where it's like you guys did create prestige. Like your event in the Royal Arena got to be a pretty fucking prestigious event in the circuit, and it's just been like, nope, we don't want it anymore.
Well, it wasn't necessarily as full maybe every time, and it's 8 teams, and it's like other stuff in there, but it was a really good event. But I'd say like that's what ESL has going for it in that current state. So maybe that's how it sort of ends up. Like PGL has a lot of prize pool, and I'm sure they'll put on good events. I mean, the arena in Belgrade is massive where you're going to hold a tournament. Like if that turns out to be great, but for that tournament to become like something that the teams are really like, it's going to take a couple of years of holding it, right? To be like, wow, this is really like sick. It's always great. The crowd is great. We want to play in this. The stage is amazing. All the best teams are here, right? Like so.
Need some longevity.
That's why, like, ESL is a step ahead a little bit in that regard. But we'll see if that's how it pans out.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to the actual tournaments, I think another thing that they have going for them, which we touched on briefly, is like both Kato and Cologne are at the start of the seasons, so they're definitely one of the big ones counting into the cutoff point for the majors itself. So
that's true too.
Shall we hit Blast a little bit with some of these roster changes first?
We can do both at the same time, right? Yeah. Because we have to talk about Kato. How long have we been going for?
We're at about an hour and 12 minutes.
Yeah,
right now.
So we should probably just talk like about Kato, and then we can reference the things that happened at Blast, right? So Spirit obviously won Blast. They go into Kato as the favorite. They're the reigning champs of Kato from last year round. That's where Donk put on that master. Yeah. So I think for Spirit to pick that up without Hallie there, right, is a pretty big deal because they had some of those matches, and it was referenced in the post-game interview with Donk, I think. He's saying they probably would have put those games away quicker if Hallie was there. They had some struggles. I think it was like Ancient versus Na'Vi was one of them. And then that catastrophic loss they had to Eternal Fire on Anubis on the first map of the series, but then they bounced back and just fucking blew them out of the water. So I think, would I be crazy in saying that Spirit go into Katowice as the favorites?
No, you would not.
So there you go. I don't really think there's much. Like, I think the thing is, for me, seeing Donk continue form, like people who are quoting the online stats, you guys need to go get your fucking brains checked. Like, fuck off. But the form that Donk is playing at, and like the question coming in this year is can he keep doing it? Well, so far so good.
It's been a full year. How much more proof?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, longevity, right? So Donk has had like a legendary year, but if he wants to go down in the history books in the same way as some of the other greats, he's going to have to do it consistently for a patch of time, and he's definitely starting off year number 2 in a very hot streak, right?
I know one of the conversations Connor likes bringing up when he's casting him is not just like how long can he keep doing this for, but will he get better?
Sure.
Which I think
is
kind of
just turned 18.
I think it's kind of a cool conversation, but I almost think it's like when I think about it, I think it's framed the wrong way. It's not like will he get better? It's like what's the next element of his game that's important to add into it? Yeah. Because like the idea that you think he would get better at what he's currently doing is like
absurd.
Yeah, I can't really imagine it being better. But like, what other elements of his game can he start refining and bringing in that will make him a more well-rounded player, where you're just incredible at more things rather than better at what you're currently doing well?
I mean, if you really want to have this conversation, the first one that pops to my mind is actually this kind of shit, but secondary opping.
Here does a little bit of it.
He does it on Dust too, but it's like that's an element you could add to your game. But why would you want to do that?
Right,
You're so sick with the rifle, right? That's why I was like
so magic
almost hating it, and then it's maybe some of the more intangible stuff you were talking about. Like my answer to that was going to be like how do I say this? Does not sound completely idiotic. Is like him not falling off would be the equivalent of like getting better, someone like improving by a lot. I don't know how to.
I see what you're saying.
You know,
yeah.
Because what he has going for him more than anything else, like yes, mechanics great, everything great, is like the not giving a fuck part of playing. Like he just goes. Every game is the same for him. He plays the same all the time. He doesn't care who's on the other side. He doesn't care who the opponent is, right? What's going on. He's doing his thing every single time, all the time. That's the most impressive part to me for a fucking 17-year-old last year, now only turning 18. Like I even argued like at the start that was the benefit of him being young and not knowing and like not caring, right?
Ignorance being bliss.
Yes, exactly.
He didn't realize the stove was hot,
but
he can't be afraid.
But it didn't turn out that the more he was learning shit and having more and more games and more experience, that part didn't change. It's still treating the same. And even the documentary we had about him and the Katowice run, like the stuff where he talks about when they played Falcons and he's like, guys, stop fucking shifting around, just hold W and shoot them like we're shooting better than them. Like that sort of a mentality, right, to have, and that sort of approach is really, really impressive, right? And we talk about the mental side of things all the time, and people choking and people whatever. Like, there's no choke with the kid. Like that just doesn't seem a part of it. It's like he might have a bad game for reasons, right? Sometimes he gets countered a little bit. The game is going bad for them. The economy is bad. Doesn't have good opportunity, right? Like, but it's not gonna be because he's playing like differently than what he usually does, and all of a sudden he can't connect on any of his shots. That's just like you don't see that with him.
Shiro played a nice top 5 grand final, Yanko.
Yeah. Studio environment. He does his best work in the studio with a nice little Coke Zero.
So loaded, and Jason's just fucking prodding, man. He's just prodding.
He's trying to stir that pot.
Look, he had a good grand final.
He did have a good grand final.
I didn't think he was a top 5 player last year. I agree with you.
People are still like, I'm just saying, he's not a top 5 player. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's a good player. He doesn't have as much impact. But that's why Spirit is sort of the perfect team for him, because there's this ultra aggressive, little nuisance that's, doing all that. They have aggressive players.
What does Blair call him?
Siberian psychopath.
No, that was Dinko. Blair had a name.
Blair
for
was that
was it demonic imp?
Yes. I think that was.
What the fuck?
He brought that out of like a fucking.
Is that from like an
heavy
anime?
metal album cover from like the early 90s?
Yeah, he was playing their best off in the green room for a bit.
I see. Okay.
You know what's funny about Dog? I was watching the grand finals while I was packing, and I was sitting there watching him. I was like, you know what? Dog probably has 4 to 5, maybe 6 rounds of map that he just wins for Spirit. And when you think of that in the context of winning a map, Like one person just wins you 25% of the rounds necessary.
It's like with Shiro, there's not like he will give you impact in very specific ways.
Yeah,
right. It's where he will find
good clutch
impact.
Here and there.
He'll find output. Yes, punishing some aggressive play with like holding the angles and that's pretty much it. And that's why I feel like it's a little bit disingenuous and disrespectful to Device to compare him to Device. Like Device in his prime was having like could have all sorts of impact on the server, even if you talk about Inferno T-side with the rifle playing banana. So it's just like that's the one thing that irks me sometimes with the top 20. It's like so heavily stats based, and it kind of has to be unless you're making it arbitrarily by the a panel of people, and then they're putting their votes in, and then that's what you say. So. Yeah, he had a great tournament, great final. Yeah. Obviously, contributed a lot to the win, and it's always been more with him about the stage games, and we saw how emotional he still can get.
Yeah.
Right with in that vlog from Team Spirit. So yeah, as long as Spirit is winning, they why would they care about anything, right? But
shout out to Shiro, the bowling champ, one time.
What do you guys think of Eternal Fire?
Good start with Joda.
Yeah.
I think like the thing is though for Eternal Fire, they're still fighting to prove they're a top team. Like they're this like tier 1.5. They can have these really, really good games or these really, really good comprehensive series where it looks like you get some great individual play, you get some really good calling or strat ideas. But then these grand finals seems to be the bane of their existence at the moment. They've been in quite a few, and most of them I think have been
in 3.
Is it 3 or 4? I think one of them might be a tier 2
Pro League.
Was Bad Boom Pro League in this one?
I think there was some other shit online tournament though, so I shouldn't really count that, should I?
The one they lost to Liquid or beat Liquid? They won it. No, that was I don't remember. Never mind. In any case, yeah.
But Zentara's he's good, huh?
But unlike this one, they should have beaten Navi. They sort of threw that. In this one against Spirit, they didn't have a chance.
You're talking about the EPL one, right? Yeah.
He was. Zontarz was a finalist for the entry fragger of the year, right? Because he had a pretty crazy entry fragging year last year as well that I don't think he got a lot of credit for.
Well, they didn't. Yeah,
he got it in the moments it was happening, but not so much in like retrospect of the year. He was pretty nuts last year too.
Well, I think like for his age, what is he? 29.
Oh yeah, and he has that thing where this is the first time he's not using mouse excel.
Wasn't it the first time he was in the top 20 as well from last year?
Yes.
So that was last year he's turned off
unless he was there during the online year with Big.
I think that was only Sirison. I watched because the time zones for me were pretty shitty to watch all the games.
Yeah.
So I was watching a lot more of like the VODs or like I've mentioned this guy's channel before, but it's like Lim POV or whatever, and he just sometimes just uploads POVs of players who have like crazy face at games or if they have a crazy official. And there was this Zentara's game on Anubis. I forget who it was against, but he was just fucking owning, and it was just his POV. And I love watching games like that because there's no X-ray on. Like you're just literally getting to see the raw reaction speed and everything like that coming out of the player. And when you see a player who's on, and you see a player who's on because he's preempting like a peak. Like he's tapping as the guy's peeking into the swing, or it's like, oh mate, it's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
He had some good moments, but I think right now, obviously, balancing Joda into the roster is going to be one of the keys, and they got a good amount of game under their belt.
29 and 10.
That's the one. Yeah, that was a fun game to watch. That's the one where fucking Blast put the thing of Flamesy doing the finger out of context.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
That's BM.
The finger thing. Like people conflated it. They were like, "Oh, why are they getting upset about it?" It doesn't matter that he did that. That's fine. What matters is playing a video clip out of context.
Yeah.
Like ESL do that as well with interviews. So like the people who do the interviews for the events, and I fucking told them this before, and obviously they don't care. Right, I've told them this before. You can't play an interview that you did before the game
2 hours ago.
You can't do that after a map's just ended, because the way that framing is now, and you don't even put anything on the screen to say that this happened before the game.
Yeah.
It's bullshit, man.
You know what's the most maddening thing about that is there's no need to do that. We have enough of that stuff naturally occur. You don't need to manufacture it.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's just telling me that you don't know what to focus on, or you don't know who to talk to from a team, or you don't know what questions to ask to get that out of them. Is like, because I'm on the desk for some of those that they play, and then I have to like sort of, this was before the game.
Yeah,
so you know, it's actually like, I guess he feels differently now.
yeah. You got to play it off. Yeah, for sure. No, but I think the thing with Eternal Fire and their map pool is we didn't see them play Train. It was the fifth map of that series. So that's the only map or I think it's the only map of the map pool we haven't seen them play it because they banned Ancient. I have to double check that. So that'll be interesting because who do they play in their opening game?
Complexity.
Complexity picked Train against VP.
They should shit on Complexity.
Yeah, they should. I agree. I definitely think they should.
It's one of those, if they are a top team, like they take care of that game.
Exactly.
Sort of easily. I think for them, a lot of issues are probably still a little bit mental. You know, not getting too down on themselves, keep fighting, which I say. And then in the G2 game, they had that and they came back a lot, but they just couldn't overcome the same deficits.
Got run over by
in the grand final. Yeah. HeavyGod's pretty good.
Yeah, but that's the thing. HeavyGod had definitely had his moments before, and I think one of the things that I was interested with the HeavyGod story was like his versatility in different teams. He was always doing different things, but seeing him come into G2, if you get a good Malbs game and a good HeavyGod game, like they're both doing enough to make up for Nico.
Here's
not completely, but the Nico stands are going to come after me. I don't.
No. I know what you mean. I was gonna make this point.
Yeah, the one right next to you.
What are you doing right now? No. I think this G2 lineup will, let's say, make the most playoffs this season.
But out of all the teams,
yeah, all let's say they'll make every single playoff. They make playoffs every single tournament they play.
Okay,
but they won't win a single tournament.
Okay.
Because I feel like
I would call shenanigans on that.
I think they'll figure it out. Like, okay, maybe they fuck up here because it's still early days for the lineup and all of that, and they're still getting used to stuff. My point being, I think their floor will be pretty good. It's the ceiling that's going to be the problem in arena games, unless we really see m0NESY take a leap.
Or and then Hunter has some contributions.
Hunter absolutely
or just everyone on the team.
And he's taking all.
Well, Malbs is still learning in HeavyGod too.
Yeah, like those two. I mean, it was Malbs' first major. Not too many.
That's who'll get the most jump, though, right?
Yes, but the thing is, it's about you. They're standing on the edge of the cliff. Hunter, m0NESY, and Snax have already jumped, right? Like those other two are like well, we can do this.
Snax' parachute.
They've all got parachutes. Some of them have multiple parachutes. But like I think one of the things as well is, and I spoke about this before in an episode, is the balance for Snax. He's going to have to work out in these type of games when he needs to be calling everything that's happening, or is he going to let like Malbs learn in these positions how to contribute? Because for Nico, somebody calling his own plays or calling rounds, Nico would have been contributing a lot, right? And understandably so. He's a very seasoned player. He's played key positions on the map. He has seen it all, and he can make good calls. Whereas for Malbs, that same thing. Malbs is a very mechanically skilled player, but he's not as experienced. That if anybody has a problem with saying that, turn the fucking podcast off now.
I would say, yeah, I agree with that, because I would think that like
don't turn it off, just mute us.
When Nico can make a play, he can have the understanding of how it can fit into the greater picture to make the team win the round.
He also has seen the scenarios more often.
Malbs might be able to see his own play, but might not be able to like have the understanding of how it fits into a bigger picture to control the rest of the team around his play.
Well, also just predicting what's going to happen.
Yeah, that too.
Sort of based off of the little things that are going on in the round. That's what happened previously. And obviously, that's what they lose with Nico. They don't lose too much in terms of just raw mechanics.
No,
they don't. Like, Malbs is really good. They actually, on average, like Chad pointed out, they sort of gain probably with everything now, people fitting better. And, you know, Hunter is taking on a bigger role, especially on the CT side in terms of talking and, like, the stuff that Nico used to do in the old lineup. So we'll see. They hit it off with HeavyGod in terms of just also the atmosphere within the team, the vibes. And he just seems like a guy that, HeavyGod, that it's like, you're never going to have a problem with him.
Yeah, you want to play with him.
Because in-game, you're not going to have a problem with him because he will do whatever. He's like an extremely versatile player and really good player because whichever role he has, he sort
delivers.
of delivers.
Yeah, he has output.
Right, and then just outside of the game, he just seems like a, you know,
chill
guy, right? Like, so it's sort of ideal for that team. But the problem is, it's one thing when you're HeavyGod on, you know, wherever. It's one thing when you're Malbs on M80. It's different when you are on G2, where the expectation is to lift trophies.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you could be satisfied before we're having good games and being competitive and even losing in a close fashion. But it was like, we gave a good try here. I was like, no one will care how good of a try it was unless you can sort of deliver the trophy. Not immediately, right? But you need to show that you are within striking distance. Otherwise, things will again have to change.
Just looking at this right now, Jason, because we might get a chance to do another episode before the main group stage starts. I don't know if we will or not. Depends on the schedules, and we have some.
We're on the same shit.
Yeah, but we also have some media that we have to do on the day before the group stage starts.
All right.
So it might be hard. I'm just looking at the list right now. Like FlyQuest versus 3D Max, that's going to be an interesting one. Anubis should definitely come into play there. What else have we got here?
Pain VP could be interesting.
Yeah, I was watching some of the demos back on the way over on the plane of the Pain guys, and
Davideus is playing well.
But you look at their distribution, and Big Azura touches on this in the interview that he did with HLTV. They don't just keep their Katowice does a lot of anchoring, but everyone's quite fluid. Like people will play a lot of different type of roles or positions from map to map. Which is quite interesting to see. And you don't even, with them, you don't always get, the mirror matchups. So in the sense of, hey, I'm the A anchor on Anubis, but I'm also the A main space taker on Anubis, right? Yeah. They don't always have that going on there. I think Davideus, he's Chilean. He's a good, he was on 9Z, then he went on to Red Canids. A good little addition there in terms of some of the firepower, and I liked what I was watching in some of their games. So they were fun to watch. VP is a bit of still a mixed bag for me because they're still ironing it out. I was watching their train games. Poor Flammers plays fucking Ivy. They've neutered the boy already.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's from map to...
Yeah, on Dust 2 he plays Rotator.
Yeah, and
right,
Electronic has long.
Yeah, so maybe they're a bit more fluid too.
So it depends, but man, there's a lot riding on some of these early matchups. Like Astralis and MIBR are 13 and 14. Pain and VP, I think, 12 and 15. 3D Max is slipped down to 16, 17, and FlyQuest is 22. And I think, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, or just privately, but this is make or break for Electronic and sort of his career. This is
the Trojan horse.
Oh, yeah, you have to think the way the last two teams have
gone.
This
is the last opportunity for him.
Yeah.
If he...
I don't think it's the last, but I think he'd have to drop down after
at this level. It's the last.
He'd have to drop down to
he would have to drop down and then sort of build his way back up again.
Prove the worth.
I don't think he would be a fan of that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So it's sort of, which is crazy. Consider where he was 3 years ago. It's Nico, Electronic, Rops. Those are your best riflers in the world, really, that you're putting into the conversation. Him and Simple, what a duo. Then from one team to another. Ever since that, he had
not
to
even
leave
one
Navi.
team to another, one disaster to another.
And then it's in-game leading, not in-game leading. This, that, and it feels okay. Now James is out. The coach was changed. A lot of things were changed. So you imagine that these are his guys to an extent, as much as it was possible to make it so, and that he has the reins. And now you just have to prove it, right? That you can do it.
I'd like to.
Here we go.
I'd like to scale back perhaps some of the excitement that I expressed about Liquid when this roster change happened.
Oh.
I'd said top 5. I was really excited at the time. Early morning coffee. Yeah. I was just really amped up. I'd like to scale that back.
Where would you like to go to? Top 15 maybe?
Top. Not that far.
You sure?
I was gonna do top 8 to top 10.
So you're still pretty
high,
heavy-handed.
Yeah. I think that there's still a lot of good things going on, but I think it's obviously still very early on. When I watched them play, they still miss a killer instinct of understanding how to use man advantage situations. In their series against Heroic, they lost a lot of rounds that they should have won. They really struggled to convert 4-on-2s, 3-on-2s, post plants. Raise your hand. Yes, Chad?
Can I
Chad
be controversial?
Back? Yeah.
The Sangar core, they did all right at EPL second season last year, right?
Yep.
How'd they do at the major?
Not good.
Not good.
I'd say they shat the bed epically.
Shat le bed.
And then they went into the playoffs of Blast without Tania and having Madden stand in. And then they also had some of their players from the Sangar core not so great on the LAN.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying the word, but we're all thinking it.
We all know that word. It's an ugly word.
Can I be controversial for a second?
Yes, do it.
You're just butthurt that Saw said, and you have JKS playing Cave.
I was the first game Justin played Cave, he did good, and then against those guys he got fucking owned. I am surprised to see Justin playing Cave. I think that the distribution of how they divvied some of the stuff up seems interesting to me. So like Twist stays as the main mid rifler, Nert stays as the secondary mid rifler, and then taking Justin's positions on A. Like obviously you play middle a lot on Anubis as the A rifler. Like that's part and parcel because your AWP is either going to start A early or he's going to go over towards B, or you might even start middle.
You have that timing where you don't have to be at A immediately.
Exactly, right? And Nertz is very, very good in middle. But I think there's part of this here where the person who's conceded an anchoring position is Justin to play a very active, more in-game leader position to Cave, which is an info position, which is something that, like, sure, he can probably learn and he can do. But I feel like that should have been where Twist would go, right?
Yeah, sorry, finish.
I just think Twist should go there, and then Justin should have still been the mid-A guy, and then Nertz could be the primary mid guy.
Yes. And I feel like this is what I don't understand. Like, I thought maybe Spinks can go to Liquid for Justin, right? Like, sure, they would have other problems, but maybe they could figure something out. But Liquid loves Justin. But it's like, you know, sometimes maybe the people you love the most, you end up hurting the most, Jason. Because it's like, why are they doing all this to him over the course of the last, ever since he joined the team? They're just moving him around so much, making him play out of position. And I feel like he's doing a sort of a
admirable
disservice to himself with like accepting this all the time because he wants to be a team player and do all this stuff. But now you're playing out of position and things that you're not like necessarily even good at. Like they just don't come naturally to you. So the question for Liquid is if you want to change, why don't you just get another player to do it?
Well, this is why the conversation about overlapping roles in Liquid has always been there, because of having perhaps an extra passive player between Justin and Naf. You're going to have those role clashes.
But two anchors is fine.
Yeah.
But Nertz is also, Nertz is also more of a passive player.
But this is and
you can't turn JKS into Yakindar, bro.
No, you can't. And I mean, from what I saw,
you don't want to turn anybody.
Well, they don't want to turn anyone. You know what I mean? Like being the main opener and the guy main space creator. Like that's not JKS.
No,
I don't know. It's why, I mean, this transitions into another conversation as well that kind of piggybacks on this. But this is why it's like when you talk about someone like siuhy hitting the market, you're like, you look over at Liquid and you're like, it feels like there's such a logical sequence of events to him being picked up by Liquid. It's like Twist goes back to an anchor position. He can be an aggressive guy on the T side if he wants to be. He can anchor. He's done that most of his career. Probably still doesn't want to, you know. And then
he's a little bit too stubborn to give the reins back now.
Yeah. That's not. I know. I feel
like now, especially with he wants to prove everyone that he can. Like,
yeah.
I actually think it's the best move is if siuhy joined Liquid right now.
But I agree with Yanko. I don't think Twist would.
I don't think he would either.
And I also think here's something that I'll say, and I'm a little bit biased. I think that like any overreactions that anyone has possibly had from the Blast half online tournament need to go look at themselves in the mirror.
Yes,
because like that we can look at things as concerning, or we can look at things that are symptoms of something that could be a greater bad or a greater good in the future. But we should not be drawing any hardline conclusions based off of a tournament that was half online, and then the playoffs had 2 teams out of the fucking 8 who didn't have their full rosters.
It is like a nasty little trick that event does, but having the end of playoffs, isn't it?
But then also you have, like, you look at this event we're going into right now, I think it's like 15 out of the 24 teams, one of them has a stand-in that's Mouse, so the other 14 teams have all had roster changes. Like the teams that haven't had roster changes are we should be able to name
Spirit and Navi.
Yeah, fucking Furia is another
Mongols.
one. MIBR hasn't had one. Mongols hasn't had one. Right? You could
3D Max.
3D Max hasn't had one. You could go through that list pretty quickly, right? Whereas everybody else is really fresh within rosters.
G2, Vitality,
FaZe,
I
was writing
Mouse,
something down.
Eternal Fire.
It's all right.
Liquid.
You don't have to go to every single one.
I was just making the point. I was doing like the exclamation point at the end of the statement.
But I wrote, hold up, I wrote something down in my musings. Here we go. Let me because I don't think it's reasonable to think new rosters will have fully fleshed out comprehensive playbooks after only a few weeks of practice. For a team who's just made a roster changes, what are the most important factors for them to win an event like Katowice so early on the season? Oh, that's for the podcast I'm doing tomorrow with Saw, Ash, and Mitha.
You've let him peek behind the curtain.
But no, because I know what my factors are, because like a team like Spirit or a team like Na'Vi are going to have a more comprehensive playbook and understanding of how everybody's going to react or how they should respond in certain scenarios. For a team like a FaZe or a G2 or a Liquid or a Vitality, Liquid shouldn't be with those other names. They're a bit of an odd one out there. But those type of other names that I mentioned, they'll have very, very skilled and experienced players. They'll understand what the game needs to be played at with the high level, but they need a few factors to go their way. First and foremost, everybody needs to be hitting hard within the team, or one or two names need to be going fucking nuclear, right? They need to have clutches going their way, right? These factors need to go in their favor. So there's a little bit, I don't want to call it luck, right? But they need to have a bit of fortune on their side, because if we're going playbook to playbook, if we're going depth to depth, a Spirit and Na'Vi should be able to take you to the bank every day of the week. But in a game of Counter-Strike, as we know, that's not what it's going to come down to when you have a game that's won 13-11. Right, it's going to come down to that swing round. Did Zywi win that crazy clutch? Did Rops have that big contribution? And sure, Apex isn't going to be able to go as deep and be able to, call a strat that they had from fucking a year ago. But, it depends. Ari's weapons online.
Well, and you're probably more comfortable improvising if you're Apex with Vitality after that, even with the new player.
That's the thing that irked me about the Elige interview, where he was asked by Banks, so Elige was playing A anchor on Ancient. And Elige was like, yeah, well, you play a lot of mid. And it's like, yeah, you do. And he also did a lot of A main aggression. But early on within a team and a new roster, everybody's going to be bringing ideas and trying new things. So things are going to seem more fluid and more versatile. But the thing is, once players get in their ways, right, you're going to have expectations of what you're expecting your teammates to do. And those ideas are going to inevitably slow down because you can only have so many of them.
Yeah.
So I think this is a thing, like we're talking about roles and stuff. Frozen should be the one to take over the hard anchor positions and then try and transition into being more of a ROPS player. And then that Elige take the positions from Frozen or even other players that are like these aggressive fighty spots. Like Elige is so good at those spots.
Wasn't this kind of the charm of the Elige coming into it? Was like Frozen when he was in Mouse played more like a ROPS style position. He was like kind of lower. You had ROPS on the team, but like you played but you played a slower, wait more towards the end of the round, activate
and he still
late.
Does now. That was the problem with the FaZe with ROPS and Frozen.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit to figure it out. I remember when we first got Brokey and
he wasn't an AWPer, Jason.
As well. He wasn't AWPing. We put him on the lurk. We gave all of the AWP because Brokey wasn't even an AWPer at the time, and we felt like it's more of us, all of the secondary AWP, the mechanics are falling off a little bit, maybe giving the AWP sort of compensate for that. But
keep grandfather big green.
But we realized we lost out a lot on like all of not being the lurk because of like the space he was creating and the pressure he was putting and just some of the mid rounding he was also able to do. So we decided to, sort of switch. And Brokey with some of the second AWPing at times and some of the stuff he did seemed like, hey, it makes sense more to give it a go with the kid who just wasn't ever really on a team, mostly came from FPL, right? And it really unlocked a sort of new tier. And that was only in 3 months. Like it wasn't even that much time that it took us to make a change. So yeah, sometimes like you have one thing in mind, sort of thinking that's the best. And then as sort of time goes on, maybe if it doesn't work out, like, you have this obvious thing that you can make the switch, right? Like, probably it was a close call for them between the two, what they were going to do, and maybe felt like this is the better one to kick things off.
I reckon John's come in and he hasn't put his dick on the table. I reckon he's kept his dick in his pants.
Jet lag.
He's being diplomatic.
I think he's come in and he's
coming in slow.
He's being Sleepy Joe instead of being Donny T.
That's not bad. That's a pretty good reference.
Yeah. Well, I think he really should be throwing his weight around. I know he hasn't won a major.
Give him time. Give him time. He's going to warm up to it.
But
he's going to warm up.
Yeah.
He's all right.
Yeah.
But I also read that interview about him playing A anchor, and that did make me sad.
He shouldn't be locked away.
John is never a player that I would want to put as an anchor position.
Don't put him in a cage. He can probably do it, but I think he's too instrumental.
And, well, how we always have this conversation about, like, the role you play, maybe personality.
Yeah, we had that conversation with him.
Yeah, personality one. John's the kind of, we also had it with Twist at one point. But John is the kind of guy who's always looking for a play to make. That's like his personality inside the server is like, what's the highest, what play can I make right now that's the best chance for us to win?
And I mean, for a good portion of his career, Rain was an anchor. I mean, while I was coaching him, he was an anchor. Yeah. Right before that, he was an anchor, and it was after that, when Kerrigan came back in, that they moved him into some more active positions, right, on CT side, T side and stuff. So that's also an option for them, right, for him to take a back seat and then do some rotating around in that sense. Yeah, I mean, plenty of stuff that they could do, but they'll end up doing.
I'm excited to see how Kerrigan unleashes him, because when I was watching like some of the Mirage game and Dust 2 game that they played at Blast, like him being like just like at the hip of Kerrigan, who's just doing his craziness around the corner, is like John's gonna love that. You know, like
signed to trade.
Yeah, someone to trade, someone to take attention, or like just he's just like sacrifice John, go for it, baby.
Yeah, I just think it came back to the mouse thing. It's so crazy.
I had no idea that was happening.
Yeah, I mean,
no one did.
And then it's like they considered like changing Brolan first for Spinks,
which makes it even more insane that he's now the IGL.
Yeah, which is kind of like, okay, you think that's an upgrade for you. You want to make that upgrade. I can see that, but I guess I don't know if it was like Siuhy who rebelled against it or the team.
Just quickly remind me to tell you guys something once we finish.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that one was very strange.
Because now you're going into it like, okay, this event they're playing with a stand-in, doesn't matter. Next one, now Brolan's gonna be IGL. He never obviously never did it, but we never even got like inklings that he's like a big voice in the team, or not this team, any team.
Fair play, we can miss those, but yeah, he has shown no outward quality of the IGLs that we would kind of hold up.
And
to the
sure,
standard.
I get it. It's MR12. They have a system. A coach has good a decent amount of influence, and you don't need too much stuff in that. But still, man, like.
All right. Hold up. Let's play a game. Let's play the speculation game. Sorry, do you?
It's my favorite game.
No, go on. Game.
Okay, so like I think probably across the board, people would say it's a bad idea to replace your in-game leader before a big event like Katowice. And then people would probably say it's a bad idea to replace your in-game leader and then have someone who's never done in-game leading before take over the role of in-game leading, right? Those things are fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were to sit and speculate what would have to happen to cause a decision of that magnitude, where would your mind go?
Well, it was that they wanted to change someone else for sure. And he was against it, so they just changed him.
So that's one thing. That's a popular rumor that I've read. Jason, can you deliver any other thoughts?
I would say maybe Siuhy saw a solution elsewhere that he wanted to try and put out. That's part of his vision of what's going to get him to take that next step.
So how come
disagreement with the coach?
Here we go. Now we're cooking.
Like the org wants the coach, and like the org is become coach, and Zipex is there as well. Let's not forget about him. Maybe they want to go. They want him to call differently than what he thinks is best, and he's just declining to do that. Like he just doesn't believe in it, doesn't want to do it. He's like, okay, you don't want to do it, you're benched.
This is kind of the area I was going to go to before you brought up the game. Was like,
okay.
All
right, Tom Eric.
For a team like Mao's that like is always bigged up and touted like their management structure that they have, and like I did that interview with Cyclone at Cologne last year, talked about just all the different ways that they've built up this system to have things be seamless and have things always be in a good place and have management on top of things. It's like if that's going to be the angle you want to take, this has to be on some level a failure of management.
Okay. I love this. Now we're getting some edge stuff. All right.
To have an explosion of this magnitude to where your IGL is no longer there and Brolan is an untested IGL going into the start of the season. It's like there's got to be a failure of management to manage or notice this problem building.
See, the thing for me is if you were going to pull the trigger on something like this, the one that makes the most sense is the one that's like, okay, yeah, they wanted to replace Brolan with Spinks, but Siuhy said no. So then they replaced Siuhy, and then Brolan's get an in-game lead. See, like
Broly's like, thanks for having my back, or Brolan's like, thanks, bro.
You're out.
Have a good one. See you later.
See, and when I say that makes the most, when I say it like that,
Duncan having my back with E-League.
Yeah, exactly.
When I say it like that, it doesn't make much sense, though, does it?
No,
really,
it
when you think about it, right? So when I postulate on this scenario, it has to be a personality thing. Right, and there has to be some form of a rift between Siuhy and some other member, either coaching staff, management, or players within the team, for this to just be a Band-Aid rip-off moment. That they would get rid of an in-game leader, which is being heavily touted as one of the best of the next generation of IGLs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You think this is the start of his Alexei B arc?
It could be.
I think it's also we shouldn't ignore the fact they lost a couple of spots, right? Because of the loss. Okay, it didn't matter too much because it was online. If they fail here, I mean, they're not expected to make the playoffs, right? We'll see what will happen because they're straight into the top 8. I don't know if they're playing Cluj, but let's say the first next event that they attend, if they fumble out of that one too, they'll be out of they might be on the cusp of like top 16.
So what was I tweeted the other day? For Europe, you need to be top 10 in EU to guarantee yourself a spot in stage 3 or 2. If you're outside of the European top 10, then you're going to have to play in the MRQ, which is going to be online.
Like, look at the teams that could be ahead of them, right? Vitality, Spirit, G2, Navi, Eternal Fire. That's already 5 teams there.
Yeah. Falcons
potentially 6. You could have Astralis there, maybe as 7, maybe Heroic as number 8, maybe VP turns out to be good as 9. Like, you have all these teams there that could, if you get into a slot, maybe Big is like on the cusp of that conversation too.
Ooh, taking a leaflet on Big. Nice.
He's a QB fan. He loves QB.
Did I say? I didn't even say FaZe.
That's true. Yeah, so that's the thing. It can get out of control very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to FlyQuest one time. They beat a Brazilian team.
Yeah. Finally.
That's a good win under their belt.
Normally they don't beat the Brazilian teams. So that's
big
going for confidence. Yeah. It'll be tough against 3D Max, but I think 3D Max play a style that FlyQuest would probably like to play against because it's quite heads up. It's quite in your face. I think that's probably good for FlyQuest. Doesn't have to be so much chessboard Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
We'll
get to see if Gamer Legion's the real deal.
Sora are going to lose. This SHR guy used to be an AWPer for the previous team he was on.
Yeah.
Now he's not AWPing because Story's on the team.
Role changes everywhere.
What's the time, Jason? How long have we been going for?
We've been going for about 2 hours. We're at a minute and 50.
I'm fucking tired.
50.
I've been yawning a lot. I apologize to everybody.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
I made some edgy jokes tonight.
We've all had a little edgy joke. I don't know if I did, but yeah. Anyways, this has been real.